the craziest thing about this one, which we didn't even find until very recently, like you just said, we've been talking about this since midsummer and been like, nope, can't find any. And the one that we found is the band Parquet Court's Wide Awake. So the album is also has the words wide awake in it.
It's really crazy.
For people who aren't familiar with Parquet Courts, which I feel like this album did, if their arc was happening in 2005, then I think they would be as well known as Conor Oberst and Bright Eyes is. But unfortunately, their most popular album ever came out in like 2019, 2018, something like that.
Yeah.
And where our cultural consciousness is totally fragmented. But they're a band that's been around since the early 2010s. They put out probably 4 or 5 albums before this one they were like indie darlings, all got good reviews on Pitchfork, like you guys were talking about, and different mixed reviews, and put out some challenging records too. And somehow were able to coalesce around this album, and also very weirdly are like a favorite of Ellen and have been on the Ellen show
Ellen
many
DeGeneres?
times. Ellen DeGeneres did a lot. I mean, I'm not even joking right now
What?
that I think part of this album's success is that in the year that it came out, Ellen DeGeneres was like really standing for it and like put it on her like multiple songs from it on her like end of the year. This was back before everyone hated Ellen too.
Yeah.
I've always hated Ellen personally, even before I knew she was a lesbian. No. Um, and so I think that added a lot of eyeballs to this indie record that I think there's definitely an argument that it's their best record, like I don't know it's clear in a way number one, like indisputable, but I definitely like it's really good. But for whatever reason, confluence of reasons, it caught on and became something more than just like, oh, you got good reviews on Pitchfork and you're selling out like mid-sized ballrooms, and on the East Coast. Now you're like doing national tours and
If a Pitchfork review or a nice little Ellen endorsement like tips you off to them, this record, kind of like I'm Wide Awake It's Morning, is gonna reward you. It's nice, like
mm-hmm.
it's also not just like catering. It's not like it's unique and interesting and really not like crazy departure from the thing that they do, which is kind of this thing, they kind of do a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a vivid memory of like playing this record. Like my favorite of theirs is Light Up Gold, and I remember reading about it and just like listening to it on a road trip. But I think I get the benefit in that case of being the person who heard Fevers and Mirrors when it came out, or Letting Off the Happiness. Like it's because I heard it then. It's because I was like, this is new
Right.
and interesting to me. This is cool to me. But I will say that I like messed around with the few albums that came out between that and Wide Awake, and then listened to Wide Awake one time cleaning my garage shortly after moving to Orcas Island, and was like, this is sweet. This is good. I like this a lot.
I think it's weirdly a very similar arc in some ways, because it does feel like a maturation and a fruition of like I also love Light Up Gold, that their first album. I think it's fantastic, and there's a maturity to this record that, yeah, if you're working yourselves backward, I could see someone who listened to the Wide Awake album first and being like, well, this other album is good, but it's just like less so of these things that I like about
Yeah.
this other record. And so yeah, it's really fascinating. And it's also like the Ellen piece of it is also kind of brings it back to the Bright Eyes record, where it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Be like, no, don't like this, Ellen. This album's good and you suck. Like, get good on her for like promoting good music. Like, isn't
Oh
that what
yeah.
we like? Isn't that the what should happen?
I ain't faulting Ellen. I give a
No,
shit.
she seems like a garbage
I'm
human
not
being.
I'm
So.
not going I'm not going to her for my music
Are you
recommendations,
wanting to
but
be attacked by Ellen fans
oh God.
or Ellen
I'm
herself?
just glad to just know very little about Ellen. One of the funniest something that I absolutely loved was the damn Daniel. You remember the like, damn Daniel, back at it again with the white vans. She brought that kid on from like those YouTube videos and like offered to give him a lifetime supply of vans. And alumnus of this show, Claire Carcillo of Gawker, posted, I sort of think this is really funny, saying as Ellen went off the air, I'm just concerned with damn Daniel and his friends and their supply of vans. Like, are they going to keep getting those vans? Like, is the lifetime supply of vans still in the pipeline? And now I think about that too.
You still thinking about that?
I
You
mean,
still
I've been thinking about this whole podcast. You know what's funny about the? I don't think I told you this, but the reason I landed on Parquet Court's page with this thought in mind was I don't remember what internet shit I was on. Might have been Reddit or I really don't know. It asked what someone's favorite Parquet Courts record was, and I like clicked it to see the thread, and like you and I just talked about two of the records, but like many of them said Human Performance. One or two, like a
yeah.
couple might have said Constant Nausea. Like they said all different ones, and I was like, they're saying ones that are quite literally not the two that I've listened to the most, that I like the
Yeah.
most.
I
And
know
so,
there are people that really like Sunbathing Animal too,
yeah,
that has a sizable contingent of fans.
it was, and no, that, yeah, that was on there. They were all there. And so then it was like, oh, let's go see. I wonder what like is their most popular. And then it was this one. And it was like, oh shit, that's okay. That's the same thing. That's
Yeah.
very